And my first guest joins me this week in studio, Mr. Brian Altounian. He's the CEO of WOWIO LLC. Brian, always good to see you.
Hey, Don. Good to be here. Thanks.
Well, Brian, looks like we have dueling laptops here on the desk, but I know this is, it's been a big week for you folks. So we were talking about some of the events that was going on with the company last week, and you gave us a real look into the future. But you want to show us something on the laptop this week. We mentioned that in previous shows. Tell us what we got.
Right. Well, so I wanted to, last week we talked about the value proposition that WOWIO is providing its core audiences. So they're readers of online material, publishers of print material, and the advertisers, and how that all plays in, and how WOWIO sits in the middle of all of that. And so I was going to give an example. I've mentioned it here before. The WOWIO version of War of the Worlds was a classic piece of literature. But I just thought it would be valuable for people to actually see for themselves why WOWIO is doing what it's doing, and all this talk about what's happening with the iPad and where ebooks are going, and the movement towards this digital distribution of content. I want to show you what WOWIO's been, where WOWIO's been. And you're basically accessing this at WOWIO.com. That's right. Okay. That's exactly right. Okay. Yeah. So shall we go ahead and show? Run us through a demonstration. All right, great. So I want to give an example here. This is obviously the cover of War of the Worlds. So I've downloaded this book about 2 years ago on the WOWIO site. Okay. So unlike what you find with Amazon.com, it exists on my computer as a file that I've downloaded. We'll never be able to go back in and yank it off my computer, and that's happened in the past with Amazon. So this is a PDF copy of a book that I now own, and will always be as if I owned the book on my bookshelf. Okay. So clearly you can see here that the cover. It's a WOWIO branded version of the War of the Worlds, and there's a couple of things I want to show you as I kind of flip through the pages here. A few things that what we've done. We've taken advantage of the internet and all that digital media provides, and so as you can see, there's obviously printed text. There's some pictures here, but we've included things like if you wave your mouse over here, you can actually see. It's as if it's a dictionary definition of some of the words that were used. This book was written in 1897. Right. And so you can see as I wave my mouse over certain pieces here that we've got definitions that show up. That's cool. Nothing really new and revolutionary, but again, just additional content that we've added to the material. And so you can get the book. And if you go to Amazon.com, you can actually order a copy of the book and maybe do it for your iPad, but you won't have, or for your Kindle, I apologize, but you won't have a lot of these features. So I'm going to fast forward to the end, because one of the things about War of the Worlds that's unique is that it's a great lesson for students of media and communication. And War of the Worlds was made famous in the U.S. by the radio broadcast by Orson Welles, 40 years after the book was published. Wow. And so what we've included in the PDF file of the book is a description of the radio program, the radio broadcast of War of the Worlds. And while that's a great additional information, we've also included on here, and I'm going live to my PDF file, and when we click on our link here, I'm hoping that my sound is on here.
So you've actually got the broadcast, a tape of the original broadcast of Orson Welles that was made so famous in the 30s.
Right on top of the. So you can actually hear right in the book.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this lesson in communications is that there was a big hoopla about that, a lot of conversation, and so on the next page we see the aftermath. Not only do we show describe the aftermath, but you can also see a newsreel clip of Orson Welles after he testified in front of Congress, talking about this, this craziness, this hoopla. That's amazing. So I'm not going to play all of it for you here. Finally, in the last piece, on the last page, we actually had a radio interview between Orson Welles and the original author H.G. Wells. It was done 2 years later in an interview with Charles C. Shaw from CBS. And so, again, this is not just as I keep saying, this is not just a digital copy, a black and white digital version of what you can buy in the bookstore. Definitely not what you can find anywhere else. We've added additional, what we call transmedia elements. So the value to the reader who's buying this book online, it's much a more enriched experience than just buying the book from a bookstore.
Well, what you've done here is you've turned the book into an absolutely multifaceted cultural experience.
Exactly.
I mean, I can remember being a kid in high school when they would play the Orson Welles things for us, and we were mesmerized by everything that went on, and people thought it was real, and they were running for the hills.
That's right.
And so this is amazing. You read the book, and then see what happened as a result of that radio broadcast, all of the follow-up, the interviews. This is what we talked about, books coming to life.
Coming alive. And so the whole idea of like DVD extras on your DVD, all these other elements. So we encourage our publishers to add this additional material. So imagine if you want to be linked out to other sources. And the great thing about what WOWIO provides in their PDF files is if you're downloading it on a linked device, you can click a link and it'll link you through to another piece of source material. So the book sits there as a file, and in addition, it takes you out into a much, like I said, a much deeper, richer experience. But I want to show you one other thing here. So you now see the value to the reader. The value there is to the publisher because the reader's willing to pay a little bit more for content that has this additional material. But this book here was actually sponsored. And actually, if people go to WOWIO.com and click on War of the Worlds, they can get this version of War of the Worlds for free because it's sponsored by one of our corporate sponsors, a company called iTagIt. And iTagIt has a live link. But I want to show you this. When I downloaded this 2 years ago, the sponsor was EA Sports. So as I flip to the very first page, this is what generally you'll see when you open it up. In this particular case, EA Sports sponsors this book and is personalized for me. But just to show you, as I put my mouse on EA Sports, this is actually a live link.
I see.
This will actually take me out to the internet. I'm currently offline. I'm currently offline, but it will take me out to the internet where I can actually go to the EA Sports site. So for an advertiser who wants to drive me to their site to actually take an action, I'm getting a live link. But here's the other part about it. Last piece I'm going to show you here is our second page of this file is an additional content. So EA Sports, not only are they sponsoring the book, but EA Sports can actually click on. I can get a 15-second pre-roll ad in the book that will actually show off this product that they're pushing to me. So again, to show you that what WOWIO is providing is value for, and you see the word, value for the reader, value for the publisher, value for the advertiser. It's a win-win, and it's taking advantage of the digital distribution of content. And that's a taste of what we're doing. Now imagine I put live links on there to access the movies, DVD copies of the movies, excerpts from the movies. We can add all of that material to this information. It makes a story come alive in every form and format for the reader. Really connecting that content provider with a content consumer in a new way. It's not just about distribution of ebooks on a digital storefront. It's a much more enriched experience, and that's what WOWIO is providing.
Just amazing. Again, WOWIO LLC. Go check this out for yourself, WOWIO.com. Brian, thanks for the demonstration.
Thanks, Don.